The NCAA men's basketball championship game is set for tonight as the UConn Huskies take on San Diego State. For the first time, sports bets can officially be placed on either of the teams right here in Massachusetts. And that's also attracting people from Connecticut wanting to place their bets on the game, even though sports betting is legal there as well. Western Mass News reporter Kristen Burnell joining us live after getting answers on why that is. Kristen.
Chris, with sports betting officially legal here in the Bay State, we wanted to find out how this is impacting people locally, as well as anyone willing to travel from Connecticut to place their bets on the UConn Huskies ahead of tonight's game.
Tonight I got UConn, got the Huskies, feeling good about it.
Sports bettors in Massachusetts have placed their bets for the NCAA men's basketball championship game. On Monday night, the UConn Huskies will take on San Diego State, the Huskies' first appearance in an NCAA championship game in 9 years.
Hopefully I can make a little bit of money tonight.
Bettors are not allowed to place bets on any college team in Massachusetts unless it is part of a playoff tournament such as the NCAA tournament. That's something State Representative Carlos Gonzalez tells Western Mass News was imperative to include in the state's legislation.
We took the initiative to make sure that we can't bet on college teams in Massachusetts, but if they're in the tournament, we're allowed to do so.
But that's not the case in Connecticut, where people aren't allowed to place bets on UConn or any other college located in that state. So instead, many are crossing the border to the Bay State in order to place bets on the Huskies, whether it be online or in person.
The geofencing that is used on the apps makes it that they have to move or drive to Springfield or anywhere in Massachusetts to be able to actually place the bet. Or they can come to our local MGM here in Springfield, Massachusetts. I think that set us apart, and Connecticut failed to do that, so that revenue will move here to Massachusetts now because they can't do it in Connecticut. So that's a benefit to us, and we were able to foresee that in the legislation that was just passed.
You can watch tonight's game right here on CBS 3 on Western Mass News starting at 9:20. Reporting live at Springfield, Kristen Burnell, Western Mass News.